So what you have open is Ty from the classroom shared folders, assignments, photos for PS folder. And what you'll notice, if you look down in the bottom right here where the layers are, you'll see 3 layers. There's a background layer. There's layer 3 copy, where in the thumbnail you'll see a little orange tie. And that's actually representing that tie there. And then you'll see another thumbnail. It's kind of weird, called tie designs. And it's kind of weird because it has that little hooked arrow that kind of curves around and points down to that. What clipping masks allow you to do is whatever changes you make to that layer that is a clipping mask, it's only going to show up in the layer below it. So if we do anything to this layer, it'll only show up in the tie area because that's the layer that's directly below it. So if you if you want to change the color of the tie, for instance, in fact, I want you to go ahead and change the color of the tie. Pick what color you want the tie to be. So I'm going to make my tie like a pinkish color. And then if you do that as your foreground color, you can just simply go Alt Backspace to fill it in, or you can use the paint bucket tool, which might be under gradient. And then the other thing I want to show you really quick is I'm going to choose another color. I'll do yellow this time. You can do whatever color you want. And if you go up to the paintbrush tool, you can choose whatever size you want and shape brush and all that up there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and paint some polka dots on his tie. Now here's a little trick. Just to the upper left of your enter key on your keyboard, there are 2 bracket keys. And the left bracket makes your brush smaller. The right bracket makes it bigger. So if you wanted to change size without having to go through all that up there, you can just do it right here on the keyboard. So I'm going to go ahead and make some polka dots here, and you'll notice even if I'm drawing off the tie, they are still showing up only in the tie. So I'm just going to do a few more polka dots, whatever. So I got a polka dot tie. It's kind of like a clown tie. And if you look down here in the clipping mask, you'll see the entire layer is pink, and then there's those circles down there, but you don't see it anywhere except for the layer that's below it. So that's basically how what a clipping mask is. What we're going to do next is I'm going to actually show you how to make a clipping mask, and we're going to do it to create some sort of like effect with text. And it's an effect that you might have seen like on postcards when they take imagery and put it into the letters. So that's what we're going to do next. So go ahead and save this file, save as, and keep it as a Photoshop file, but call it My Tie. My Tie. And then once you do that, of course, put it in your shared folder. And go ahead and click Save. So we're saving My Tie, putting it in the shared folder. Yes. No problem. All right. So save it as My Tie, put it in your shared folder, and next thing we're going to open up is Hawaii. So go to File, Open, and locate Hawaii in that Photos for PS folder. So we're finding Hawaii. Once you get Hawaii open, we're going to be doing a few things with layers. And in order to create the effect, we're going to have to duplicate the Hawaii picture layer. And so we're going to start with that. When you duplicate it, you're basically making a copy of it that's going to show up over the other layer. So what we want to do first is go down to the Layers panel down here. If you don't have it open, go to Window, Layers, and it should open up for you. Click on Background and then right-click, and you should see Duplicate Layer. So you want to right-click Background Layer, click Duplicate Layer. and bibbidi bobbidi boo, you'll get this little thing. Click OK on that. We'll just call it background copy. And you'll see now you have two layers. You have background copy and background. They are exactly the same thing. So we're going to change that in just a second. We're going to make another layer. We're going to make a brand new layer and fill it with white. So that's the next thing. What we want to do is go down. If you look on the layers panel down to the bottom right, there's a trash can, and to the left of that, there's a little piece of paper with the corner folded over. In all the Adobe programs, whether it's Photoshop or After Effects or Illustrator, anything that is new, you have that icon. So in this case, if it's a layer, if it's in the layers panel, it means new layer. If it's in the styles panel, it's a new style. If it's in the brushes panel, it's a new brush. So we want to go ahead and click on that. So this little piece of paper icon down here I'm pointing to. Click that. And then once you get that, nothing happened, because literally all you did was make a blank layer. You haven't done anything to it. So we want to go ahead and paint that white. There's two ways you can do that. You can either choose a foreground color of white and then hit Alt Backspace, or you can go to the fill tool, the paint bucket here, and click in there and it'll fill it all in with white. So as long as you have that layer 1 selected and you either Alt Backspace with white or use the paint bucket with white, you got what we need. Alright, so now that we have a white layer, what we want to do next is drag that layer 1 between background and background copy. And what we're essentially doing is making a layer 1 sandwich using background and background copy as the bread. Alright, so we got that. Great. Question? Oh, you got, never mind. Okay. Alright, once you have that background copy, layer 1, and background like this, the next thing we want to do is click on background copy, because what we want to do next is make a text layer above that. So whenever you click on a layer, if you create a new layer after that, it's going to create it just above that. So if we were to do it above layer 1, it would still be below background copy. We want it above it so we can see what we're doing. So what we're going to do next is go ahead and click on the T tool, and then you need to choose a font. Choose a really fat, thick, voluptuous font. Voluptuous, like thick, like, you know, Baby Got Back kind of font. We want to choose, I don't know if you have that font, but I'm looking for like Cooper maybe, something fat. The reason we want it fat is so that things show up on it. It's kind of like a movie screen. You want a big screen so you can see things. So I'm going to Cooper Black Regular. And so Cooper Black Regular is actually a pretty voluptuous font. It's kind of corny, but it's okay. And when you click, you're also going to want to make sure your font size is really big. And then just type Hawaii. Or you can type vacation. I don't care, whatever you want to type. And then we're going to resize that, because I went to the biggest size that I could select from there, but that only gives me so much. I want to actually make this fill most of the screen. So what I'm going to do is go Control T, which you can also do by going Edit Free Transform. And that gives me the little box so I can stretch her out. And there we go. So I just stretched out Hawaii here, made it really fat and big, and it's perfect. All right. So now that I did that, we're going to turn the background copy layer into a clipping mask that's going to appear on this. So what we're going to have to do is drag Hawaii below background copy. And then if you go back and select background copy, right click it and go create clipping mask, boom, you'll get the image through the text. So it's kind of a fun little effect. You guys could have fun with this, like You can take your own pictures and put your picture of you in your own name. And you can also click on the move tool and you can move the image around. So if you want to get it perfectly in there, so you see the top of the mountain and the beach and everything, you can do that. But I want to show you a couple other kind of cool tricks with this. So we have background copy selected, but what we're going to do next is edit the text by clicking back on the text layer. We're going to edit it by changing the style. So if you go down to the bottom, you'll see a little thing that says FX. And if you click on that, you'll see a list of things: bevel, emboss, stroke, inner shadow, and so on. I'm going to click bevel, emboss. And what that's going to do is allow you to create kind of a 3D effect. You can do inner bevel for the style. Technique, you can choose whatever you like. There's chisel hard, chisel soft, and smooth. I'm going to do chisel soft. You can change the size. You can make it so it just has an edge, or you can make it so it's entirely an edge. And you can also soften it so it's more pillowy, or you can leave it unsoft. And like I said, you can change the depth. So the deeper it is, the further it kind of puffs out at you. And if you're not seeing the changes, you'll want to make sure that preview is checked here. Another thing you can do is add a stroke to it, and that just means giving it an outline. So if you click on stroke, you can choose whatever color. I think it defaults to black probably. I'm going to make it yellow. And you can actually make it kind of more like an offset, or you can do an inside stroke where it actually kind of covers the bevel a little bit. But or you can do center, which yeah, I'm just going to stick with the outside one. And the other thing I want to show you is the drop shadow. The other stuff you guys can play with if you like, but drop shadow automatically gives you a little shadow behind your stuff, behind whatever you're doing. If you wanted to change the drop shadow while you have that selected, you can actually click and drag the shadow itself to move it. And if you have global light selected on there, it'll automatically change the way it's lit on the bevel so that it's more accurate. So the light would be up here if the shadow's down here. And you can adjust how opaque or transparent the shadow is, how far it is. You can change the spread, which if you go all the way right, it just makes it so that the spread is, or the edge of the shadow is more straight and perfect. Otherwise, it's more realistic to the left. And you can change the size, which it just kind of blurs it. So when you click OK, it has all those effects on there now. If I'm happy with all that, great. If not, you can go back in and change the effects again by double clicking down here. You'll see them underneath the text layer. So once you've done that, go ahead and save it. We'll just save it as My Hawaii and put it in your classroom shared folder. I'm putting it in my fake shared folder. And that's it. That's all we're doing today.